In our previous video, we talked about intersections and unions. Now let's go ahead and apply them to the interval notation. So interval notation will not always just be one set where we have 1 to 5, for instance, with a parenthesis on each of them to say everything from 1 to 5, but not including 1 and 5. Sometimes we'll have to break that up. Maybe we want 1 to 2, and then 4 to 5. And we don't want anything between 2 and 4. How can we write that? This is where we start to introduce unions into the problem. So when we deal with two intervals, for instance, where we have this set of numbers and this set of numbers, we can combine them with the union symbol. We just have to figure out what to fill in beside each part of the union. So for instance, on this left one, we always want to work with the smallest number and go to the largest number. So the smallest number in this first interval is the arrow pointing all the way to negative infinity. So we start at negative infinity and we work our way until we get to our first break in the interval, which is at 0. At 0, there's an open dot, which means we will put a parenthesis because it is not included. At infinity, infinity will never be reached. Just like you'll never reach this 0, but you'll get really, really close to it, which is why we put a parenthesis, meaning everything up to but not including that 0. The same thing is true for negative infinity or positive infinity. You will never reach them, so we put a parenthesis with them always to say you'll never actually get there, so it's not included. We have a union, and now we pick up at our next value, our next lowest value, which is 4. And we go all the way to the right with an arrow. That means all the way to positive infinity. This is a closed dot at the 4, so we put a bracket. And again, infinity gets a parenthesis. So negative infinity to 0, parentheses on each value. And then 4 to infinity, bracket on the 4, and a parenthesis on the infinity, with a union symbol between the two, is our solution. Generally, this union symbol will be a lot larger, but since I drew it first, it looks a little bit different. Now for this next example, I want us to try to graph x being greater than -1 or x being less than or equal to -4. This means we're going to graph this interval and this interval together, but we're not going to use open dots and closed dots anymore. That's when we had inequalities in the mix. Now we're dealing with interval notation. We will use parentheses and brackets to graph. So x is greater than -1. That means if we go to our number line and find x equals -1, greater than means it's not included. Not included means we need a parenthesis. And because it's greater, it's going to go toward positive infinity. So we have a parenthesis facing open toward positive infinity. It's going to look just like that. Now we have x is less than or equal to -4. X is less than or equal to -4 means we go to -4 on our number line. Because we have the equal to, we're going to put a bracket. And because it's less than, it means we're going to go to the numbers less than -4, which means to negative infinity. So we go to -4, we put a bracket opening toward negative infinity, and then we shade with an arrow. This is the number line that represents this following graph of x being greater than -1 or x being less than or equal to -4. And since we're at it, let's just go ahead and show what the interval notation would be for this problem as well. We're starting with negative infinity since our arrow points all the way to the left and going until -4. We know negative infinity has to have a parenthesis with it. 4 is included with a bracket. We're picking up with another interval, so we use the union symbol. And now we have -1 has a parenthesis around it, and we go until positive infinity, which gets a parenthesis. So -infinity to -4 union -1 to positive infinity is the same thing as x being greater than -1 or x being less than or equal to -4. We didn't talk about the intersections yet, because intersections are more used to combine two intervals into one. But we will talk about that in future videos.